This presentation is part of a series of podcasts which explore how transitions into and out of work relate to well-being. We've talked about the impact of unemployment on people's well-being in our previous presentation. Here we will look at what happens to well-being when people re-enter work or move between different jobs. The evidence is taken from a systematic review of 18 longitudinal studies which track the well-being of the same people over a period of time when they move from not having a job into having a job, or they move from one job to another. The studies in this systematic review use a range of measures of well-being which include life satisfaction, assessments of mental health and self-esteem. Our review includes published evidence from countries that are similar to the UK, and the data mostly comes from large nationally representative surveys from the UK, Germany, Australia and the United States. We classify our findings in terms of the confidence that we have. That is strong, where we're confident there is an impact in the stated group and context. Promising, which we need to investigate further. And initial, where we think there may be an effect, but more research is necessary. In terms of our overall finding, our main evidence is that re-employment does lead to higher well-being. But the boost to well-being that arises through re-employment does depend on the type of work. In more detail, it seems that men appear to gain more in terms of well-being than women when they're re-employed, that the increase in well-being is smaller for those who transition into a job with less prestige, lower pay or less autonomy, and that increases in well-being are smaller for those who move into temporary jobs compared with those who move into permanent work. To illustrate this finding in more detail, we refer to a paper by Lennons, The Effect of Work Status and Working Conditions on Mental Health in 4 OECD countries. The bars illustrate the change in mental stress associated with different transitions. The blue bars illustrate them for women, the lilac bars for men. We can see on the left the loss of well-being associated with the move from employment into unemployment that was discussed in our previous presentation. As we move along, we can see that the gain in well-being arises from those who move from unemployment into employment. And the rest of the bars illustrate how well-being changes with different types of move. When people move into permanent work, we can see that there's a much bigger gain in well-being than arises when they move into mini-jobs or insecure jobs. And we can see on the far right that women who move into employment where there's low job satisfaction actually experience a decrease in well-being. Our systematic review also included a study of what happens to well-being when young people leave school. On leaving school, a young person may find a job, they may go on to higher education, or they may experience unemployment. We find that those who make a transition from school into employment have the highest well-being, but that level of well-being is sensitive to job quality. Those who make a transition into non-career jobs are less happy than others, and those who made the transition into dissatisfying jobs can be less happy than those that are unemployed. To illustrate this, we refer to the study by Dockery, The Happiness of Young Australians, Empirical Evidence on the Role of Labour Market Experience. The bars illustrate the likelihood of being very happy with your life as a whole, and we can see at the top that those who have the highest probability of being happy with their life as a whole are those that are in employment or those who are at university. Moving down, we can see that those who are unemployed have a lower probability of being happy with their life as a whole, and the probability is lowest for those who've been long-term unemployed for more than 6 months. We can then see that the probability of being happy with your life as a whole is sensitive to the type of work, the people you work with, and promotion opportunities. So those that are in less good quality jobs do experience lower probabilities of being happy with their life as a whole. And we see that those who experience poor job quality in terms of a combination of these things, poor type of work, poor promotion opportunities, or those who are unhappy with the type of work, promotion opportunities, and people that they work with are not only less likely to be happy with their life as a whole, they're less likely to be happy with their life as a whole than those who are unemployed long term. In this presentation, we've talked about the implications for well-being of moving from unemployment into employment. Our final podcast is going to look at the well-being implications of retirement.